Hey, welcome back to Geocaching World with Andy Smith, also known as HeadHardHat. I'm Dave Dufour here on RV Newsnet at RVNN.tv. We are talking about finding caches to go. I mean, not finding them initially, well, finding the information about the caches so that then you can go out and hunt for the caches. So you have to do your homework essentially, and even that's kind of fun. You know, we're looking at geocaching.com as the resource for where the millions of caches are around the world, but it really is part of the fun, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah, they geocachers put a lot of pride into the work that they do for their hides,
Uh huh.
and everything from what we were just talking about earlier about the description about the geocache, the actual placement, the wording that is used is a whole language of it itself, and it
Right.
all helps you find the geocache.
Well, here, for example, this just in terms of finding caches, we just in the last segment we put in the zip code for this area where our studio is, which is in northern Indiana, and there's one cache called Indiana's First that we're looking at. I hope that the hope that the person who did this particular hide isn't too worried about us overloading it. There's a lot of Indiana history in the description here of the hide itself. So you know you get to find out if you're actually out of an area, new in an area, you're going to learn a little bit about that area. Now I kind of know some Indiana history, but it's still interesting anyway. And you always come up with stuff. Plus, there's now down here at the bottom, there's some hints as to where the cache is and best places to park and some stuff like that. Here's information on what size of a container it's in. It's in an ammo can, that kind of stuff. So these now I have noticed too that some of these cache descriptions, as I've gone through, have been really detailed, kind of like this one, and then some of them kind of leave you hanging.
Yeah, and it all depends on what the geocacher wants to get done. If it's what we call a park and grab,
Mm,
which is somewhere literally you get out of your car, you're within a few feet of the actual geocache itself, they're not going to have that much of an elaborate description. If it's a extremely well thought out geocache, which are the best ones in my personal opinion,
mm-hmm.
where somebody actually takes the time and effort to make the geocaching experience as great as it can be,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get a cool description of information.
That's great. Okay. Well, anyway, this has got there's some other information. There is a map as to where this particular cache is, and that's obviously right here, and it's a Google map. Are there some other ways to hunt for caches within in
Once you get the
geocache.com?
coordinates, you can go hunting pretty much any way you want.
Mm-hmm.
Geocaching.com gives you a pretty good set of tools when it comes to finding the geocache itself. There are people that go out that don't even have a GPS unit. They will take the coordinates, they will look it up on Google Maps and maybe even in satellite mode and literally drill down to where it's showing that the geocache is and see if they can find it.
Right. Okay. So there's different ways to play the game in essence too. Then.
Oh yeah, many different ways.
Okay. Well, I went back to the list where it shows all of these caches that are within 5 miles of where we're sitting, or where I'm sitting anyway. And we've talked about some of this already. But then what we thought we'd get into, because this is confusing, all these little symbols. Now, these all happen to be what you told us were traditional, but now here's a different symbol, and here's a different symbol down here. And I have really another page up. What do we need to know in order to pick a cache? I mean, are there some that we should, like, as beginners, stay away from, but where you're more experienced, you're better at, or is a traditional better than some of these other types, or for new geocachers, or what?
Yeah, I would definitely say if you are just starting out geocaching, the traditionals are definitely the best way to go.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the terrain and the difficulty, I wouldn't go any higher than 2 stars because when you start going 3 and up, they can get really frustrating. And if you're just starting out, you don't want to do that. You want to make some finds. You want to gain that experience right off the bat. So you want to stay 2 stars or less.
Okay.
The different symbols out there are ways of telling you what type of geocache there is, and there's about a dozen or so.
Okay, well, here's the first one we've got up. That's the traditional, and that's just basically a container with a logbook, apparently. That's what this...
That's exactly the definition. It could be anything from a size of your pinky fingernail up to large, crates and boxes. But the main thing for all of them is they have to have a logbook that you need to sign.
Okay, and now give me a clue on the logbook. Now, the logbook is something that, I mean, how much information do you provide in the logbooks typically?
And that can actually be a blank check question or an answer for that.
Okay.
When it comes to logbooks, if it's a micro, like say what we call a nano, which is those teeny tiny ones, and we'll show you what those look like eventually, or a bison tube, the only amount of space you're going to have on there is a date, and sometimes even just your initials.
Oh, okay.
But you want to get your name in there as much as you can.
Yeah.
The bigger geocaches allow larger logbooks, and with those, people put stories in there. They put, sometimes they read the description about the geocache itself, and they will write stories that go along with that theme, or they will write where they've traveled to get to that geocache. Sometimes it's from other states, sometimes it's from other countries. All that information gets stored in those logbooks, and some of them are rather elaborate.
Right. Okay. But obviously, obviously, depending on the size of the cache is something of a limiting factor when it comes to the logbook, of course.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now the next symbol that I'm looking at here. Now this looks a lot like the other symbol, but it's called a multi-cache now, or offset cache. What is that?
A multi-cache is a lot of fun. What happens is you will have the end of it will be a traditional style geocache. In other words, it'll be a container with a logbook in it. But what's fun about multis is that you can have different waypoints that you need to go to. Can be something as small as another geocache container that gives you a clue on how to get to the next waypoint. It could be
okay. Tell me what a waypoint. Explain waypoint.
That's in a particular area or coordinates. But the idea is for a multi is you go from one waypoint to the next, to the next, to the next, till you finally get to the geocache. So it's a problem-solving, logical type hide.
So a waypoint is essentially just a step along the way to the real cache, right?
Yep, another clue to get you there.
Okay, and so when you look at this type in geocaching.com, if this comes up on your list or where you're searching, then that set of coordinates you're getting is not where the cache is. That's where the first step is, right?
Exactly right. And it'll tell you right in there that this is not where the geocache is. This is the starting point to the multi-cache.
Okay. All right, great. All right, what's the next one here is Project APE, which spells ape. What is that?
And it is an ape cache.
It's an ape cache.
There's only a couple left, but basically what happened is back in the early 2000s, the movie Planet of the Apes came out. Now, for geocaching.com, this is kind of an extreme because they really don't promote companies per se.
Right.
You won't see branding when it comes to this. But this was a special occasion, and a bunch of geocaches were placed all around the country, and inside the geocache itself, there was a piece or a prop of the actual movie.
Oh, gotcha.
And so people would actually go find these, and this is one of the things that happens in geocaching. When you find different types of geocaches, there's kind of a scorecard, if you want to think of it.
Yeah.
It's a way of tracking all the different type of geocaches you found. You get an icon for the different types. So an ape geocache is kind of a specialty icon to have under your belt. There's only 1 or 2 of them that I know of that's left. I know there's one in Washington State. I'm not quite sure what the other one is anymore, but over the years, the props got lost, the caches got muggled, or whatever happens with geocaching.
Okay,
so
I know what muggled is. What's muggled? Yep. Muggled is, well, I know what the term means in terms of Harry Potter. What does it mean?
Pretty much the same thing. What will happen is a person will find a geocache that doesn't know what geocaching is.
Gotcha.
And sometimes they will read the nice set of instructions in there that says, this is a game piece, don't touch it. Other ones aren't so nice.
Okay, so in other words, these are people who are not geocaching wizards who get into the thing. Gotcha. Okay, so now I've got the analogy. Okay, perfect. Okay, now there's another one here. This one's just this symbol is a question mark. What are we talking about here?
Mystery or puzzle caches are some of the most amazing ones for me personally to find. It's like everybody else. Geocaching, people find the things that they like to do and the way they go. There are people out there that are absolute experts when it comes to mystery and puzzle caches. Other ones, maybe not so much and may not go after them as much. But the idea is with a mystery or a puzzle cache is that sometimes they either don't tell you exactly where the geocache is, and you are given a problem to solve or a story to figure out. There's some type of logical conclusion, and a lot of times people like using math problems. Sometimes it's a story that you need to figure out. Sometimes it's a graphic that you have to look at and solve the riddle or problem. The ultimate result is you get the coordinates to go find the geocache.
Okay.
The other side of a mystery or a puzzle cache is that you actually get the coordinates where it is, but you have to figure out how to get the logbook out of the cache itself.
Oh, okay. So the puzzle, you broke up for just a second there, but the puzzle, the problem-solving aspect of it is opening the cache.
Yeah, sometimes you will have to figure out some way to get it out. Maybe you need a special piece of equipment. Maybe you have to move the geocache a certain way to get the logbook out. There's a riddle of getting the logbook out of it.
Well, it sounds like it's like a very creative kind of, creative exercise in essence.
Yeah, you really some of these, there are college professors out there that just love to do math questions and have you solve them
and torture you with them. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Next one here. This is called a letterbox hybrid. What is that?
This is based off of the old style one when we were talking about the origins of geocaching and where it came from. Letterboxing is basically that where you're using a stamp type situation to actually when you find it, you have a personal stamp that you log a logbook with, and there's a stamp with the box that you also log with.
Right. Okay. Okay, great. Well, we are going to take a break here, and we're going to be back with more about the different types of caches and your challenge coming up next on Geocaching World. Got a question or a comment about geocaching? Send it to geocache@rvnn.tv or leave us a voicemail at 877-578-RVNN, extension 714. Tell us about a cache you especially enjoyed finding, and we may feature it in an upcoming episode. Follow RV Newsnet on Facebook and Twitter, and you can receive text messages to alert you when we're streaming live by texting RVNN to 72727. That way, you can join us live in the chat room, ask questions, and become part of the RV Newsnet family. Remember, any photos or other material submitted to us become the property of RV Newsnet and cannot be returned. Today's show is brought to you by Angie's List, where you'll find thousands of unbiased reports and reviews about service companies in your area. Whether you're looking for a roofer, plumber, house cleaner, dentist, or even a doctor, Angie's List members share their experiences with each other so that you can choose the service company that's right for your job. Companies can't pay to be on Angie's List, and the reviews come from people just like you who have had experience with the companies mentioned. To find out more, go to rvnn.tv and click on the Angie's List ad.